So today we're going to be talking about Big Stitch Quilting. This is a project that I've been working on, and I am big stitching it in circles. So you'll see in the center there is one square that has a circle in it. That was my starting point. Let's look at it again. I started all of the quilting from there. I made one circle and I quilted it, and then I simply continued to do more circles an inch apart starting from that. So I'm going to show you. This is what it looks like when I have it on my lap. I don't use a hoop, and you can see that I am simply stitching right next to the last circle that is to the right, and I'm not marking this. I'm simply looking at it and eyeing it so that I'm about an inch apart. I don't worry about it being perfect, perfectly circle. I don't like marking. I prefer this style. It makes it look just a little bit uneven, but really once you get all of these circles on here, you do not notice the uneven, the little variations in the spacing between the stitches. Now when I big stitch, you can see that I will load 2 to 3 different stitches on my needle. And it's the same motion that you use for regular quilting with smaller stitches, it's just bigger. I'm using embroidery floss, I'm using 3 strands, I'm using a contrasting color since this quilt has so many different colors in it. Just about any color I use on there is going to be fine, but I use a darker color because I really want to see those circles. Now my hand is underneath there, and so what I am doing is when the needle goes down, I touch my middle finger, is what I'm holding up, and just to touch it so that I know when to rock that needle back to the top. The reason that I don't use a hoop is because if you use a hoop, you will be moving it all the time because big stitch quilting is so fast. And so I have learned to, and it didn't take me long, learned to quilt without the hoop. And I like the softness that that gives me because then I'm just pushing my needle very easily in and out of all 3 layers. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to end this stitch because I'm at the end. You'll see what I did was I put my needle in and I simply traveled it to about an inch away from the stitching, pulled it through and clipped it off. I don't have to do any extra weaving, it will stay in there. Now I'm going to show you how I start every single strand, including the very first one. Is I will thread my needle, and what you'll see me do is I'm going to put that needle about an inch away from where I want to begin my stitching, only through the middle layers. I'll only be in the batting layer when I put this first in, because what I'm doing is I'm burying that tail in between the layers, so you won't see it at first until I begin the actual stitching. So let me show you what I mean. I do not put a knot ever because you're not going to want to pull through. So here I am about an inch away. I poke up where I want my first stitch to be. Right now I'm just in between the layers. I'm going to pull up until that tail is buried underneath, just like that. And now I'm going to start my stitching. Sometimes I start with a back stitch, so I'm going to do that. 1 back stitch, and then I'm just going to start my stitching. That's all it's going to take to anchor that in, and I have done lots of quilts this way. My threads do not pull out from that middle. And now we continue stitching. Now I'm going to show you on the back what it's looking like on the back. Just a second. And so you can see we have nice big stitches. They don't have to be perfectly even. The circles are not perfect, but you can see that once you have so many in there, it really, the variation hardly shows. And when it does, it just lets you know that this is a nice, comfortable homemade quilt.
And be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can do so here by clicking the subscribe button. That way you'll find out about new videos as they become available.